Awaken to supernatural blessings, miraculous healing and abundance manifested within 3 days. Sarah stood in the dim light of her living room, the gentle glow of candles flickering like tiny stars in the twilight. Her heart thudded with urgency. Hope felt fragile, a glimmer in the face of despair. Just 3 days ago, her world tilted. Mark, her beloved husband, had been given the dire diagnosis of an incurable illness. The walls of their home, once filled with laughter, now echoed with a profound silence. But faith? Faith still glimmered like gold amidst the ashes. Each night, she gathered their children, holding hands, invoking the intercession of St. Jude, patron of hopeless causes. "Lord, we need a miracle," she whispered, the weight of her prayers lifting the atmosphere around them, turning their little space into a holy sanctuary. The church, a haven of familiar faces, stood tall, its doors open wide, inviting the weary and the faithful. As she entered, a wave of warmth washed over her. The gentle murmur of prayers wrapped around her like the softest embrace. Around her, candles flickered with supernatural light. Each person lifted their voice, a chorus in harmony, creating a palpable sense of unity, a divine connection. Sarah felt the spirits of hope rising. This was no ordinary gathering, it was a force of love and prayer, igniting the embers of her spirit. Yet, as the days wore on, Sarah's resolve began to fray. Doubts crawled into her heart like shadows. Financial burdens loomed, dark clouds overshadowing the radiant light of faith. During a prayer meeting, the pastor's voice rang out like a clarion call, sharing revelations of miraculous transformations kindled by belief. "Faith," he said, "is the heartbeat of the divine." Sarah clung to these words, yet another attempt to seek alternative treatments left her feeling defeated. Had they wandered too far down the path of despair? Just when hope felt beyond reach, a fellow church member rose transformed by grace, liberated from addiction. She shared her stunning testimony of healing. Each word was a spark, lighting the room anew. It ignited something deep within Sarah, a resounding belief that miracles were real, that they were standing on the threshold of something divine. That night, Sarah knelt beside Mark, tears glistening like jewels as she poured out her heart in earnest prayer. "Lord, I believe in miracles." She wanted to feel his presence, she longed for a touch of his spirit to intertwine with hers. The air thickened with an unexplainable energy, each breath steady with a holy anticipation. Mark stirred, a flicker of life brewing beneath the stillness. Hope surged like a mighty river within her. But just as she felt the climb of faith, fear whispered its deceitful lies. What if the miracle doesn't come? What if they remain trapped in despair? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. And so, as she closed her eyes, a serene understanding began to unfold in her heart, a promise hiding in the moments of darkness. Would her faith carry her through this storm? What awaited her on the other side of this valley of tears? With hands clasped around Mark's, she held on, feeling that the miracle was just within reach. The promise of possibility shimmered and loomed like a beacon, ready to lead them into the next chapter of their miraculous journey. In the hush of the night, Sarah felt the gentle pulse of hope radiating through her fingertips as they rested on Mark's hand. The lights in the house seemed to dim, the outside world fading away. It was just the two of them, bound by prayers woven into the fabric of their love. Each heartbeat echoed like a drum, urging them both toward faith. "Lord, I trust you," she whispered fervently, her voice barely above a breath. Strains of doubt twisted around her thoughts, yet she fought them off like shadows fleeing the dawn. In that sacred stillness, she sensed a flicker of divine response. It was as if heaven was leaning in, listening intently to the deepest yearnings of her heart. Suddenly, Mark turned toward her, his eyes blinking open like petals awakening to the sunlight. "Sarah?" His voice was raspy, an awakening from a long slumber. Hope collided with disbelief in her heart as she squeezed his hand tighter, not wanting to lose this fragile moment. "Yes, love, I'm here." Tears brimmed in her eyes, spilling onto her cheeks as joy surged within her. She leaned closer, soaking in every detail of his face, from the way the light caught the hint of stubble on his jaw to the flutter of hope reflected in his gaze. "Did you pray for me?" he asked, a hint of confusion lacing his voice. "I prayed every night, Mark. I still do." Her voice trembled with a mixture of disbelief and relief. The warmth of his touch ignited a spark of faith that had been quietly waiting to break free. Mark smiled weakly. "It feels like I've been gone for ages, but I can feel something is different now." His expression was gentle yet curious, as if he could sense the unseen threads of hope already weaving their way into his being. Sarah held his gaze, feeling the raw energy of their shared love enveloping them. The church service was powerful. Testimonies of healing, stories of faith that stirred my heart, and I know it stirred yours too. Mark's brow furrowed slightly. "I don't remember much. But I can feel things changing. I can feel you." He took a deep breath, a sudden clarity seeming to wash over him. "What do we do now?" "Now, we hold on to this moment, breathe in every ounce of faith, and move forward, knowing we are not alone. You and I discuss treatment options when you feel ready." But also she hesitated, letting faith rise within her. "We lean into what God has planned for us." As they held that gaze, a wellspring of divine light seemed to unfurl around them. It was more than a moment, it was a holy encounter, a reminder that faith was not merely about the waiting but also about the urgent call to action. As days turned into a vibrant tapestry of shared prayers, laughter, and unexpected camaraderie with friends from the church, each morning began anew with possibilities. The rhythm of their lives began to equal the beating of their hearts, resonating in tandem with divine purpose. However, one day, as Sarah unfolded the latest test results before Mark, a heaviness settled in the room. Questions loomed large above them like thunderclouds. What if these results don't reflect the changes we've felt? What will we do then? Fear barked at her heels. Mark, sensing her turmoil, reached out and grasped her hand. "What if this is just part of the journey, Sarah? What if our story is meant to witness something greater?" In that moment, uncertainty lay in the balance, an invitation to explore deeper faith despite the darkness that still lingered at the edges of their lives. With wings of courage, they prepared to step into the unknown, eyes fixed on the horizon of what could still blossom. Together, Sarah whispered, her heart aflame with renewed resolve. Together. As the threads of their story intertwined with miracles yet to unfold, little did they know, a divine twist awaited them on the horizon. Would they uncover the path that God had laid out for them, or would the unexpected lead them to even greater revelations? The journey of faith was just beginning. The air hung thick with a blend of anticipation and dread as Sarah and Mark prepared to face the results of the latest tests. She glanced at him, his brows knitted in concentration, but his eyes seemed to shimmer with a quiet resolve. They shared a space alive with expectation, where love and faith began to harmonize, sounding like a gentle melody in the stillness. "Mark," Sarah began, her voice steadying itself, "whatever those results say, remember that we've already witnessed miracles. Even just having you back, that's a miracle." Mark nodded, squeezing her hand gently, the warmth stretching between them like a lifeline. "I can feel that. I can feel the prayers wrapping around me like a protective embrace. It's as if God is saying we're not done yet." The heaviness in the room lifted slightly, each word they exchanged illuminating the darkness that fear had cast. But as Sarah unfolded the paper, a shadow flickered across her heart. The hospital's name glaringly stood out on the report. She held her breath, eyes darting over the results, hopes rising and falling like a tide. "Everything will be okay. We're ready for this," she murmured, attempting to infuse her voice with faith. As she read, silence enveloped them, wrapping around them like a cocoon. Mark's free hand slowly rose, brushing against her cheek with tender care. "Sarah, whatever it says, we're walking this path together." Finally, she whispered, "The results, they don't show what we hoped." A lump formed in her throat, but she pressed on. "The doctors want to explore more aggressive treatments. They think we need to reconsider options." Mark didn't flinch. Instead, he took a deep breath, grounding himself. Let us not let this defeat us. What if all this leads to a greater testimony? We could be vessels of healing for others. Her heart stirred at his words, a wave of peace washing over her, dispelling doubt. You mean, this pain could wear a crown of purpose? Exactly. Mark smiled, a spark igniting in his eyes. God can use this moment for something big. What if our journey becomes a beacon for anyone wrestling with similar fears? Sarah felt the stirrings of hope swell within her like a rising tide. Maybe they weren't merely living through this, perhaps they were living out His glory. The thought ignited within her like firelight, blooming into vibrant possibilities. Do you really believe that? She asked, her heart now flooding with curiosity and wonder. I do. I can't explain it entirely, but I know God calls us to trust Him even when we don't understand. We have to see the larger picture. As they shared that moment, their tears transformed into gentle offerings upon the altar of faith. Suddenly, a realization dawned: pain could become purpose, and doubt could evolve into something impactful. Together, they could rewrite their story. Let us tell the world our story, Mark declared with newfound clarity. Let us share the victories we've already experienced and let everyone know how we've been supported through prayer and faith. Maybe someone needs to hear it. Sarah's heart soared. The darkness surrounding them still loomed, but it no longer seemed insurmountable. They could shine like stars in the night, guiding others searching for hope. Together, she echoed again, confidence swelling within. We will shine together. With a shared breath, they envisioned the days ahead not merely as a test of endurance, but as a canvas for divine expression. The door opened wide to unknown paths, filled with testimonies yet untold and transformations waiting to erupt. As they stepped forward in synchronized faith, they held on to the promise of something beautiful blossoming from what felt like despair. Unbeknownst to them, an unexpected encounter was on the horizon. Would it lead them to a truth that would illuminate their journey even further? The whispers of faith were beginning to rise. In the days that followed, Sarah and Mark found themselves enveloped in a gentle rhythm of renewed hope. Each morning, as sunlight poured through their bedroom window, it felt like a fresh commitment to trust. The air crackled with new energy. They spent quiet days together, finding joy in the little things: a shared cup of coffee, the chirping of birds outside, even the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind. These moments became sacred, threaded by an understanding that grace was painting their lives anew. Let us take a walk, Mark suggested one afternoon. The sun had begun to dip, casting a golden glow across the street as they strolled hand in hand. The world felt luminous, alive with possibilities. As they walked, they chatted about life, dreams, and the incredible power of faith combined with action. Sarah, look at the flowers blooming, Mark said, pointing to a garden bursting with color. See how they thrive? They don't worry about tomorrow, they just grow. That's how we must be, rooted in faith, pushing upward despite the trials. Sarah nodded, a smile brightening her face. Yes. And just like those flowers, we can embrace what comes, trusting that we are supported in ways we cannot always see. It was a simple talk, but profound truths were blooming in their hearts. Each moment together served as a reminder of the blessings they'd received and the ones still to come. They began to share their story with friends, church members, and even strangers, inviting others into their journey. They spoke of how prayer had covered them in a comforting embrace, how miracles had already stirred among them. As they laid bare their fears and victories, they ignited flickers of hope in the hearts of those around them. They encouraged others to see beyond their circumstances, to look for the divine fingerprints in everyday occurrences. One evening, they attended a local prayer meeting at their church. The atmosphere was electric, charged with faith as believers gathered to support one another. When it was their turn to share, Mark took a deep breath and spoke from the heart. God has us on a path we never expected. We are still learning, still discovering our strength through weakness. If you're walking through your own storm, know this: God has not forgotten you. The congregation responded with murmurs of agreement, hearts resonating with the truth of his words. Sarah felt tears welling up in her eyes. In that moment, she knew they were connected to something far greater than their individual struggles. After the meeting, A woman approached them with tears in her eyes. "Your testimony, it gave me hope," she said, her voice shaking. "I've been facing challenges that felt unbearable, but you've reminded me there's purpose in the pain. Thank you for sharing." As they walked home that night, Sarah felt a new level of joy. "Did you see her face?" she exclaimed. "We made a difference. Just by sharing our story." Mark nodded, a smile stretching wide across his face. "This is just the beginning. God is leading us to more healing, more stories to share." "I feel it." At that moment, a sense of purpose washed over them, lifting them to heights they hadn't dreamed possible. They were no longer just Mark and Sarah, they were vessels of a divine message, spreading faith like seeds in the wind. But even as they embraced this calling, an undercurrent of uncertainty lingered. Would their own challenges soon bloom into the miracles they sought? What greater tests lay ahead? Unknown to them, divine whispers were about to become a reality, leading them toward an encounter that would change everything. Would it be the miracle they had been praying for, or a new challenge to strengthen their faith? As dawn broke the next morning, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. Sarah opened her eyes, feeling the warm sunlight spill over her skin like a gentle blessing. Mark was already up, silently sipping coffee while gazing out the window. The sight filled her with affection, he looked so peaceful, yet so determined. "Good morning, love," she said, nestled into a cozy blanket. He turned, and their eyes met, radiating warmth and understanding. "Morning. I was just thinking about how far we've come," he replied, his voice full of enthusiasm. "Today feels different. Like something extraordinary is coming our way." Sarah felt a flutter of excitement. "I sense it too. It's like the world is holding its breath, waiting for a miracle." After breakfast, they decided to visit the park. Nature always seemed to echo their feelings, and today it felt alive with possibility. The flowers, vibrant and wilting under the sunlight, were a reminder of their own blooming faith. They sat on a bench, sharing small hopes and dreams, cultivating an atmosphere thick with positivity. Just then, a gentle older man approached them. His eyes sparkled with kindness, and he had a warm smile. "Excuse me, young couple. I couldn't help but overhear a piece of your conversation. You speak of hope with such passion. It reminds me of a time years ago when I was lost and found my way again." "Thank you," Sarah replied, intrigued. "We believe in sharing stories, they hold power." He nodded, taking a seat beside them. "Indeed, they do. I used to pray for healing but struggled to believe it was possible. With each trial, I grew weary. But faith, dear ones, is often the fire that ignites the miracle." "What happened?" asked Mark, leaning closer, his heart racing. The man took a deep breath as if savoring a treasured memory. "One day, in my darkest hour, a stranger came forth and shared their story of healing. The next evening, I felt compelled to pray harder than ever. Miraculously, I woke up the following morning completely healed, a fire ignited within me anew." Mark and Sarah exchanged odd glances. It was as if the man had stepped out of a dream, delivering a message from the divine. "That's incredible. God is truly amazing," Sarah exclaimed. "Yes. He is," the man beamed. "But sometimes, we must face storms to appreciate the sunshine. Never hesitate to share your journey, it can bring light to others." As he spoke, a soft breeze rustled through the trees, carrying with it a sense of divine validation. It felt like a message woven into nature, affirming their efforts. After a heartfelt farewell, Sarah turned to Mark, her eyes bright. "Did that feel like a nudge from heaven?" "Absolutely," he responded. "It's as if God is saying, you're on the right track. Keep moving forward." With renewed purpose, they continued their walk, now feeling a tide of faith swelling inside them. Later that day, as they prepared dinner, a knock at the door broke their reverie. It was a sweet neighbor, her eyes frantic and filled with worry. "I'm sorry to bother you, but my son is unwell. Could you pray for him?" Without hesitation, Sarah reached for Mark's hand. "Of course. We'd be honored." As they stepped into the neighbor's home, a silence enveloped the room, thick with desperation yet light with hope. Mark looked around, the sacred atmosphere wrapping them like a warm hug. "Let us pray," he said firmly, shutting his eyes. Surrounded by the soft murmurs of heartfelt pleas, faith surged through them, igniting the air with anticipation. Would they witness healing in another's life today? As they prayed, the atmosphere thickened, and the room felt charged with divine presence. The air almost shimmered with expectancy, leading them to wonder, was this the miracle they had been waiting for? And what if their journey had only just begun, filled with encounters that would shake the very foundations of their faith? Soft rays of light filtered through the neighbor's window, casting a warm glow over the room. The gentle hum of their prayers mingled with the scent of lavender permeating the air, evoking a sense of peace. Mark felt his heart racing, the weight of the moment pressing gently upon him. This was not just a moment of prayer, it was a sacred encounter, a convergence of hope and divine intervention. As they prayed aloud, Sarah's voice trembled slightly at the edges before solidifying into a resonant melody of faith. She prayed for the boy's health. Mark's thoughts turned inward, recalling stories of others healed through prayer. Were they merely echoes of the past, or contingent on their faith? With eyes shut tight, he pictured the boy how full of life he could be, running and laughing, unburdened by illness. "Lord, let your healing flow through us," to him, he implored, his soul stirring. A warm sensation coursed through his hands, almost electric, setting him on fire with belief. Meanwhile, the neighbor stood beside them, her hands clasped tightly, her breath shallow. You could feel her desperation, mingled with hope, it was palpable in the air. Each whispered prayer drew them closer together, weaving their hearts into one tapestry of faith. Moments slipped by, deep and sacred. The peace wrapped them tighter until Sarah began to feel lighter. She glanced at her neighbor, whose face softened with a glimmer of uncertainty and trust. They had come to pray, yet surprisingly, she sensed healing wasn't simply an outcome, but a transformation already taking place. Had she felt the shift too? The air trembled with possibility. Was the boy already experiencing a miracle? As they concluded, Mark felt invigorated but uncertain. "Can we go see him?" he asked, as if propelled by an invisible force. The neighbor nodded, her eyes sparkling with hope. They walked into the other room, where the boy lay asleep, pale and fragile. A heavy blanket lay draped on him, yet a subtle brightness danced around his presence. Mark approached first, kneeling beside the bed, his heart mirroring the rhythm of fervent prayers echoing in his mind. Looking down, he noticed the boy's chest rise and fall with the calmness of sleep. Instinctively, he reached out and placed his hand on the boy's forehead. A softness enveloped him. Was it warmth or peace? It was both. A few moments passed before Sarah joined him. She rested her hand lightly on the boy's chest, feeling the slow beating of his heart. Their hearts tuned in sync, marveling at the divine connection filling the room. "Father," Sarah whispered, "we trust in your goodness. Let this boy be fully restored." In that moment, a sense of unity surged through their hands as if the boy's spirit danced with a hint of joy. A mesmerizing wind seemed to sweep through the room then, rustling the leaves outside as if the entire world stood in watchful anticipation. Suddenly, the boy stirred. His eyes fluttered open, revealing a gaze that was both innocent and fierce. "Mom?" he murmured softly, still tethered between sleep and waking. "Oh, thank God!" his mother breathed, tears of joy spilling onto her cheeks. Sarah and Mark shared a quick, astonished glance. But just as their hearts soared, a thought struck Mark. Had they truly just witnessed a miracle? Was it the power of their faith, or something much more profound waiting to unfold? As the joy enveloped them, a lingering mystery wrapped around Mark and Sarah's hearts. What further miracles awaited them? They couldn't shake the feeling that their adventure had only begun, thrumming with divine possibilities just beyond the horizon. The boy blinked slowly as the world came into focus. The flickering shadows dancing across the wall spoke of something beautiful, a peaceful awakening. Mark dared to believe. "You're going to be all right," he said softly, the words spilling from his heart like a prayer of praise. The boy's mother drew closer, her hands trembling as she brushed his hair off his forehead. "You're safe, honey. We're all here. Her voice quivered with relief, each syllable laced with gratitude. There was hope blooming in the room, buoyant and alive. But just as they breathed in that moment, Mark's attention was drawn to the boy's eyes, sparkling with something deep in awareness that he couldn't quite name. It felt as if the boy were seeing beyond the veil of ordinary life, catching glimpses of something sacred. The child shifted, trying to sit up. "Is it really morning?" he asked, his voice still hoarse but stronger than before. "Did I dream?" Mark knelt closer. "No, you're awake. You weren't dreaming. You had us all worried, but we prayed for you. God is good." What happened?" The boy looked at each of them, his gaze penetrating but gentle. They exchanged knowing smiles, their hearts flooded with uncontainable joy. "You were sick, but we prayed," Sarah explained, enthusiasm bubbling within her. And God listened," Mark exclaimed, their hands still intertwined over the boy's heart. As the boy absorbed their words, a grin broke across his face, illuminating the small room. It was as if the sun burst through a cloudy sky. I feel better." The boy wiggled his fingers, almost as if testing a new reality. Tears welled in his mother's eyes once more, her joy sparkling like stars in the night. "Yes. You were brave, my love." She laughed, a joyful sound that echoed across the four walls that had only days before seemed frightening. They stood together in an embrace that felt divine, a brilliant exchange of grace and hope. It was a transformation flowing through them all, like living water. But beneath their joy lay a brewing awareness that something greater was stirring. Mark felt an urgency pulse through him. "We need to share this story," he said suddenly, an image igniting in his mind, a gathering of friends and family coming together to testify about this miraculous healing. "But how?" Sarah murmured, her excitement still tangible. "There is so much fear in the world. Will they believe?" Mark paused, the glow from the window illuminating half their faces. "If each of us doesn't share, how can we inspire others? There are others who need to know this hope." Their hearts raced with the growing reality of the decision. Would they step out and share what they had witnessed? Would they walk boldly with their faith? The question echoed like a distant ripple in the water. Was this healing meant to be a private affair, or an open door to countless miracles yet to unfold? Suddenly, the room filled with a subtle warmth. It felt tangible, wrapping around them like a divine hug. Mark glanced towards the window, and there it was, the luminous light coiling through the branches, vibrant and alive. In that sacred space, a new revelation began to dawn in their hearts. What if this was only the beginning? The boy's healing was a whisper from heaven, sparking a series of miracles just waiting to manifest. But before they could engage with this thrilling wave of possibilities, an unexpected knock echoed through the air. Who could it be? As they exchanged curious glances, anticipation swelled. What divine surprise lay beyond that door? Mark glanced at Sarah, her eyes filled with a mix of wonder and apprehension, as the knock echoed again, crisp and insistent. The air seemed thick with expectancy, the atmosphere electric. They exchanged a look, each sensing a deeper purpose behind that simple sound. "Shall we see?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as if concerned that speaking too loudly might shatter this sacred moment. "Let us," Mark replied, nodding towards the door. With steady hands, he reached for the handle, feeling an unexplainable warmth radiating from the wood. It felt almost alive, pulsing with the promise of what was to come. As he opened the door, light flooded into the room, revealing an unexpected figure standing before them. It was old Mr. Jenkins, the kind-hearted neighbor known for his abundant garden and wise words. He stood there, slightly hunched, yet bearing an inviting smile that radiated comfort. "Good morning, friends. I heard the laughter and wanted to see if I could join your celebration." Instantly, the atmosphere shifted again. The warmth in the room multiplied as Mr. Jenkins stepped in, bringing with him an air of familiarity and faith. He held a beautifully woven basket, brimming with fresh fruits and vibrant flowers, a testament to God's abundant blessings. "Is it true?" he asked, his voice resonating with genuine intrigue. "Has the boy awakened?" "Yes. Just now. Sarah beamed, stepping forward to embrace the old man. We prayed for him and God healed him. Mr. Jenkins beamed back, his eyes twinkling like clear skies. What a magnificent miracle. You know, healing doesn't just happen in our bodies, it happens in our hearts, too. There's a ripple effect. The boy watched, wide-eyed, taking in this new addition to their gathering. Something about Mr. Jenkins felt powerful, as if wisdom poured from him like honey. Can I help with prayers too? He asked, his voice small yet filled with courage. Of course. Mr. Jenkins knelt to meet the boy's gaze. Every prayer is a thread woven into the fabric of someone's hope. Immediate joy surged through the room. Mark felt that divine warmth wrap around them once again, reinforcing their collective faith. The laughter and chatter soon morphed into a beautiful symphony of gratitude as they shared their hearts and their stories, in that sacred space, as voices intertwined and the redemption of their story was pieced together like a beautiful tapestry. Mark's mind flickered back to their earlier thoughts. Our miracle isn't just for us. We have to tell others, he asserted, feeling a renewed sense of responsibility. You're absolutely right, Mr. Jenkins replied, his voice rich with affirmation. Let us spread the word. Invite your friends over, share the joy, the hope. There are many who need to see the light. Just then, without warning, the gentle breeze outside turned into a stronger gust, sending leaves swirling about playfully. It whispered secrets, infusing the room with a presence that felt both grounding and uplifting. Mark's heart raced, he was reminded of how often the Spirit leads when we least expect it. What if we hold a small gathering? An evening of testimonies? A moment for our neighbors to see how God has worked. A chorus of agreement filled the room, and they dove into the planning, laughter echoing as they envisioned the gathering. Yet, amidst their excitement, deeply rooted questions swirled in Mark's heart. Would they truly be ready? Would their fragile faith inspire others? As the sun began to sink lower in the sky, casting golden rays across their path, Mark caught sight of the boy staring intently at the window again. There, a halo of light enveloped a lone bird, seemingly singing its heart out to the world. Do you hear that? The boy whispered, his tone dipping into reverence. In that moment, Mark felt the wild pulse of hope resonating within his soul, mingled with uncertainty. What more would God reveal to them in this journey? The questions lingered, inviting them deeper into this unfolding tapestry of miracles. What abundance awaited them just beyond the horizon? As twilight draped its gentle cloak over the world, the small gathering in Mark and Sarah's living room transformed into something sacred. The walls warmed with shared laughter and the fragrance of blooming flowers from Mr. Jenkins' basket, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation. The boy, who had just awoken to life and light, sat near the window, his childlike wonder a beacon in the dusk. His face lit up with excitement as he observed the flitting shadows of birds outside, their movements daring and free. Can we sing to God too? He asked, his voice a melodic whisper, echoing a longing felt by all within that holy space. Absolutely. Sarah replied, a smile breaking across her face. Let us lift our voices together. They began softly, like the first light breaking at dawn. How great thou art filled the room, blending seamlessly with the evening air. Each note felt like a prayer, rising up to the heavens, intertwining with the wind as if they were harmonizing with the nature outside. As their voices mingled, hope swelled within them, and every heart became lighter. Mr. Jenkins listened with a knowing smile. He joined in, his rich tones adding depth, flowing through the room like a river of faith. You see, he said after the last note faded, when you sing from the heart, you share your spirit with the world. That's how miracles begin. Mark, feeling the weight of responsibility, nodded. We want to share this miracle, this healing, but what if people don't believe us? Belief is a seed, Mr. Jenkins replied, his eyes fixed thoughtfully on Mark. You plant it, but only God waters it. Trust that your story, however simple, can inspire someone's faith journey. Sometimes it only takes a small spark to ignite a flame. Sarah reached out to the boy, intertwining her fingers with his. We want you to tell your story too. It's your voice that will show everyone that God is alive and moving. A soft breeze danced through the open window, rustling the pages of a nearby book, momentarily calling attention to the stillness. Mark felt it brush against his cheek, a gentle reminder that they were not alone in this moment. God's presence filled the room, wrapping around them like a cozy blanket. Sarah's voice trembled slightly, drawing him back. What if this moment is meant to lead us to something greater? Like what? He asked, surprised by her sudden insight. Maybe this gathering is just the beginning. What if we invite not just this neighborhood but everyone in our lives? Friends, family, even those we barely know? Exhilaration bubbled in Mark's chest. Yes. A celebration of faith and healing. The boy's eyes sparkled with excitement. Can everyone come sing with us too? We'll make it a night of joy, testimonies, and praise. Let us find the courage to share our story, Mark proclaimed, feeling a wave of strength wash over him. I can post it online. Our miracle can't remain a secret, it's meant to be shared. As more ideas swirled around the room, lights, flowers, food, their collective energy surged, visibility rising like the brightness of the stars blossoming above them. The boy's laughter rang out, buoyant and pure, a sound of untainted faith, yet, as they tasted the sweetness of possibility, Mark's heart raced with underlying apprehension. There it was again, the question of readiness. What if their enthusiasm floundered under the weight of doubt? Will we be able to inspire them? He wondered aloud, his voice now a quiet echo amid the rising hope. And just as a longing for reassurance washed over him, the boy whispered, God can do anything, He has been healing me. A serene hush fell over them, seemingly grounding their high spirits. In that moment of contemplation, the reality of their upcoming assembly hung like dew upon a web. As they looked at each other, pondering the next steps, a lingering question rustled within their hearts: how would God further unveil His plans amid this journey? The gathering awaited, and the Spirit breathed ever closer, but what blessings awaited them as they stepped beyond their comfort zones? The day of the gathering arrived, and an electric anticipation filled the air. Sarah busied herself in the kitchen, the aroma of baking bread and simmering stew wrapping around her like a warm hug. Mark set up chairs in the living room, a wide smile plastered on his face, knowing how many lives could be touched through their shared miracle. As the clock ticked closer to the start time, guests began to arrive. Friends, family, and even neighbors trickled in, each face lighting up the room with the glow of faith and curiosity. The boy, now filled with vitality, excitedly bounded around, sharing his story of healing with anyone who would listen. Each word was a testament, weaving faith into the hearts of those present. Can we pray? The boy asked, eyes wide with earnest hope. All heads immediately bowed, encircling him in a sacred circle of intention. The air shimmered as they collectively poured their hearts out in prayer, invoking divine inspiration and gratitude. Thank you, God, for healing me and allowing us to be together, he prayed, his voice ringing clear. As amen echoed softly through the room, the atmosphere shifted. Laughter erupted as stories of faith spilled forth, woven with threads of vulnerability and hope. Each testimony built a fabric of resilience, reminding everyone that they were not alone in their struggles. Sarah shared how her heart had once felt heavy, how doubt had cast shadows on her faith. But standing there, witnessing the miracle, she felt light, released from chains of darkness. Mark followed, the words flowing from his heart with a newfound vigor. This is why we share our stories. It's how we create community and ignite hope in one another. Let us remember God often works through ordinary people. The congregation erupted with applause, a chorus of agreement resonating through their hearts. Mr. Jenkins chimed in, recalling his own journey of faith and healing, adding his nuggets of wisdom. Life may not always make sense, but our Lord is ever present, guiding us to bloom where we are planted. His voice, rich with experience, wrapped around the crowd like a gentle blanket. As the evening unfurled, laughter and music filled their home. They sang songs of praise, each note a prayer soaring towards heaven. Mark watched as the boy danced, innocence and joy emanating from his every move, a visual symphony of divine possibility incarnate. But then, amid the joy, a figure appeared at the door, silhouetted against the dim light outside. It was someone they recognized, yet hadn't seen in years, an old friend from the church who had drifted away during a difficult time. There was an air of apprehension mingling with excitement as he stepped inside, hesitantly taking in the gatherings. "Wow," he said, eyes widening at the scene of camaraderie before him. I heard stories. I thought I'd see it for myself." His voice faltered slightly, courage battling with uncertainty. Mark stepped forward, emboldened by their previous conversations of hope. "You're welcome here. We're sharing God's goodness and the healing that has taken place. Would you like to join us?" The man hesitated, but amidst the merriment, a spark of hope flickered in his eyes. It was a testament to courage, proving that the light of faith could indeed pull the weary back into the fold. As they invited him to share his own struggles, the room became a tapestry of connection. Every new story entwined into the existing pattern of their experience, reinforcing the truth that suffering can lead to triumph, and miracles might just sprout from the seeds of vulnerability. The gathering turned into something transcendent, a testament of faith reverberating through the walls. Hearts opened, eyes glistened with the sheen of revelations, and a sacred strength began to rise among them. At the peak of the evening, Mark stood again, his heart swelling with gratitude. "Look around. This is the kingdom we're building, a place where no one stands alone. When we share with one another, when we love on one another, God's love blossoms in our midst." As cheers echoed and hands lifted in worship, the weight of their fears melted away, replaced with an amalgamation of hope and joy, much like the transformation they had witnessed in the boy. The night continued, filled with laughter, prayer, and a joyful defiance against the shadows of doubt. As the last guests departed, hearts full and spirits renewed, Mark and Sarah stood hand in hand, bathed in the soft glow of evening light. "Tonight, we didn't just share our miracle," Sarah said, eyes glistening, "we birthed hope in others. This is the ripple effect, and we didn't even know the depths it could reach. And what if this is just the beginning?" Mark mused, a smile breaking through as he gazed into the horizon. "Every end is a new beginning, and God has more in store for us." The possibilities stretched out before them like a vast expanse of uncharted land filled with promise, with the endless ability of God to surprise them at every turn. Together, they stepped into the new day, arms linked in faith, ready to witness and share whatever miracles awaited. As they closed the door, the warmth of that sacred gathering lingered, promises humming gently on the edges of dawn, whispering that true miracles transcend the moment. They were now bold carriers of hope, ready to unleash the love they had experienced on those who still awaited their own miracles. This is the time. Join them on this incredible faith journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive miracle stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It truly helps us reach those in need. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this miraculous ending. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who are searching for hope and healing in their lives. You need to support the movement of faith and healing now. This is the moment. Don't wait even one more second.